Welcome to Lesson 5 in your workbook, and we are going to be interpreting graphs of functions. First, you're looking at a which one doesn't belong problem. So decide which one you think doesn't belong and give a reason why, or even better, write down a reason for each graph as to why each one wouldn't belong. The main thing I want you to be able to see from this activity is that B is not a function. All of the others are functions, but B is not. And that's because for a given input, which is going to be along your x-axis, there are two possible outputs. And so in that case, this is not a function. The rest of them are. Now we're on activity 2, and on this one, you're working on interpreting graphs. And the questions that go along with this one are very doable. I want you guys to try these on your own first, and then come back. Okay, you've had some time to look at these questions. Here we go. Number 1, was it warmer at 3 p.m. or 9 p.m.? I've color-coded these a little bit so you can see that in purple at 3 p.m. and at purple in 9 p.m. You can see those temperatures, and is warmer at 9 p.m. Number 2, approximately when was the temperature the highest? And right now we're looking at this point right up here at the very top of the graph. That's at about 5:45 p.m. Number 3, when was it? Find another time that the temperature was the same as it was at 4 p.m. So 4 p.m., my temperature is here, a little over 57 degrees. It's that same temperature again, slightly before 8 o'clock. Number 4 is a little bit more in depth in looking at this problem. Did the temperature change more between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. or between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m.? So over here off to the side, I've written down my estimations for what those temperatures were at that time. And if we look at the difference from 1 to 3 p.m., it looks like it rose about 4.1 degrees Fahrenheit. And from 3 to 5 p.m., the difference there would be about 3.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So the correct answer is that it changed more between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Number 5, here's where we're talking about function language. So does the graph show that the temperature is a function of time, or is time a function of temperature? Now on this one, I've written in a statement here, blank depends on blank. So we're thinking to ourselves, does the time of day depend on the temperature it is outside, or does the temperature outside depend on the time of day? And if you're thinking that second one, you're right. The temperature outside depends on the time of day. Now, depends on is a nice way to think of is a function of. We could just plug in those words instead, and we could say that temperature is a function of time. Number 6, when the input for the function is 8, what is the output? So let's look back at the graph. Input is 8. That's at 8 hours afternoon. What is my output? It's going to be 57 degrees there. And what does that tell you about the time and temperature? Well, it tells us that at 8 o'clock, or 8 hours after noon, the temperature outside was 57 degrees. There you go. Now, activity 3 in lesson 5 in your book. This one, again, has some questions that are very doable as far as interpreting the graph. So try it on your own and then start again when you're ready. Again, I've color-coded our answers here. So A, from 1999 to 2000, you can see that the amount of garbage did increase. From 2005 to 2009, it increased and then it decreased. But overall, from 2005 to 2009, we had a decrease. And in C, you're describing the change a little bit more detailed. So from 1995 to 2000, the first year, it decreased. And then every year after that to the year 2000, the amount of garbage increased. Now you're looking at a graph that shows the percentage of garbage that was recycled. So go ahead again, answer these 3 questions, and start again when you're ready. I've color-coded on here again and drew some lines on the graph. So if you want to use some colored pencils, do that on yours. That would be a good idea. When was this graph increasing? From 1991 to 1996, right along this line. And then it was increasing again from 1998 to 2007. Then it was increasing again from 2008 to 2011. When was it decreasing? from 1996 to 1998, from 2007 to 2008, and from 2011 to 2013. C tells us to tell the story of the change. So I would say that it increased for 5 years, decreased for 2 years, increased for 9 years, decreased for 1 year, increased for 3 years, and then decreased for 2 years. And overall, we could say that the amount of garbage that's being recycled has increased. To wrap it up from this lesson, make sure that you can explain the story behind the graph of a function, meaning when is it increasing, when is it decreasing, overall what is happening. Being able to read the graph, that's what's important here. So if you have questions, make sure you get those answered before you move on to the practice.